Hi, Bashar. This is Erin from Shepherdstown, West Virginia, and I was wondering if you would describe, metaphorically and or literally, how a tree would experience having a word spray painted on it. Thank you.
Well, it depends on the tree, in some senses. It depends on the word, in some senses. It depends on the reason for why it's being done, in some senses as well. So you're kind of looking at a very complex combination of factors that go into why such an action would be taken. Now, of course, you might say, well, it's not an ideal action. It's not representative of something that exists per se in the nature of the tree to have something painted upon it in that way. But again, as a human is also an expression of nature, it can be reflective in the tree, like an animal, may allow for something to happen between itself and a human that will, if the human is conscious enough, reflect back to the human the reasons for why the human felt the need to do that, that can then, from the tree's reflection, put the human in touch with belief systems within it that cause that particular behavior to occur. So trees may be willing sometimes to take that on in order to reflect back to the human something that will put the human in touch with what belief systems are going on within the human's consciousness that caused it to believe that it needed to reflect that on the tree in that way. So it depends on the person, it depends on the tree, depends on the reasons, depends on the circumstance at that moment, and a variety of other things going on. In a sense, you could say it's not necessarily, in its purest sense, representative of an ideal balance, but then again, it may be part of a process to help the human get into an ideal balance.
Hi there, Bashar.
And a you good day.
Pleasure talking to you again. Hope you've
All
been
right,
well.
speak up, please.
Okay. The US presidential election has been very energetic and polarizing.
Yes.
Will we begin to see more change within each other, a bipartisanship between one another? Basically, what I want to do is compare and contrast the energy of what we're leaving to what we're going to as far as the way people are communicating with one another societally.
Yes, if you are willing to do so, that is what you will see. And that's what we're referring to in this transition time, not only over the next couple of months, but also over the next couple of years. It may take 1 to 2 of your years to truly begin, if you practice, the idea of finding unity, harmony, commonality, connection. If you are willing to get at the core issues, because many times what you are calling the concept of partisanship is nothing more than an over-focus on the surface features that individuals believe represent what it is they prefer, but quite often are not. So the idea is that if you really get down to the core issues, the core of each issue, you will find that there's a lot more commonality than you may think. It's just that many people represent these things by different symbols that appear to be polarized. When you can get down to the real reasons, the core reasons why people say they want what they want, why people say they need what they need, you can find that they will almost always come down to some very basic concepts that you all share a desire for. And then once you get to the core and realize what the common need is among all of you, then you can work your way back out and use symbols that are less polarizing, because now you understand that you actually have a common goal of the need of the core that will serve everyone to the best of its ability, and you can use fewer polarizing symbols, maybe even no polarizing symbols, to allow yourselves to work together hand in hand to achieve those things, to manifest those things, now that you don't necessarily believe that they're really on opposite ends of the spectrum, but really just different representations of the same basic need that you all have.
I understand that very clearly. I think so many of us are more down the center on things than we realize. And
Yes.
this actually plays into a follow-up question that kind of goes into, this year we had a lot of discussion about social media.
Yes.
and our communication, via computers, via social networks, and whether that is helpful or harmful in our lives.
Well, it depends upon the person. It depends upon how it's being used. Like anything, remember, when people ask polarizing questions, no offense,
Yeah, no, it's okay.
but the way in which the question was asked assumes that there is simply only one way to look at it from a different point of view. Remember, it's not this or that, it's this and that. Anything can serve double duty. Anything can be experienced positively or negatively. So it's up to the individual to understand within themselves how they are using something, why they are using something the way they are using it, to come to terms with whether or not they believe that they can only use it negatively or believe that they can use it positively.
Understand. So you would suggest that let's say Bashar was on Facebook, or your interactions with, so many of us, I think, are drawn in by wanting to see and experience each other's lives as a form of connection.
Yes.
But we also have other things due to algorithms and things out of our control that
we understand, but they're not really completely out of your control. If you recognize what those algorithms are doing to create more polarization, then you can come to terms and come to an agreement of how to change the algorithms so that it actually creates more realization, more awareness, and more unity.
Do you think we will have more people understand? I very clearly understand the algorithms in my own personal experience online, that the more negative I look at, the more it feeds me more of what I perceive as negative.
Yeah.
Will we have more people understanding the way social media works in their lives and making those choices? Or
well, yes, but again, please do remember, you're asking the question as if more people on the world you're on now have to do that. The idea is you never change the world you're on. You change yourself and shift yourself to a version of Earth that already contains more people that understand that.
Okay, I understand that.
All right.
Another thing, this is one that kind of deals with the spiritual communities, because I'm someone who's participated in a lot of different spirituality communities over time. And I have this perspective these days. I just see a lot of, again, split in that world as well.
Yes.
Where I have a discordance, and I don't want to focus on it at times, but I see it even within dear close friends of mine.
Well, yes, you're going to see it more and more and more. Remember that as you expand your consciousness, you see more of both sides. Now, you don't have to experience both sides, but you become more aware that polarity does exist on every level except the one. So the idea is not to worry that just because you can see more of it, that somehow it affects you. Again, it's the idea that seeing it gives you the opportunity to decide more clearly what it is you prefer based on seeing what you don't prefer. So just because you can see something happening doesn't mean it affects you unless you choose to be affected by it.
Okay, I understand that. I have a question about, kind of switching gears here, about meditation.
Permission slip, yes.
And using frequencies, which are actually like binaural beats, sometimes people call them, specific frequencies. Is there a specific frequency that helps people get into that you would suggest that people seek out when meditating or trying to align?
Well, again, different things will work for different people in different ways, of course. But in general, one that is sort of, let's say, representative of the collective consciousness is what is often referred to in your language as the Schumann frequency of Earth, 7.85 cycles per second. Now, the Schumann frequency can change, and it often does, and can go up as high as 30 cycles per second or more, depending upon the overall collective emotional energy of your societies on Earth. But the base frequency of about 7.85 cycles per second can be effective as an archetypal frequency that reflects the collective consciousness connection to Earth and its expression as nature. So you can begin there and experiment with it if you wish, but let your imagination be your guide as to what it leads you to, because again, remember, The permission slips you are attracted to because at that moment they will work for you, even if they don't work for someone else. That's why you're attracted to use them.
Okay.
Does that help?
That does help.
All right.
And let's see. I don't know if I have the. I'll ask you one last question.
Oh, all right.
If you don't mind. Are there any within those that very clearly know? I find it interesting in our society now that we have our own military that is releasing information and videos of supposed extraterrestrial craft.
Yes, the very beginnings of disclosure.
Right. With as far as like presidents and world leaders, are there those that are kind of left out of that knowledge base within the, let's say, military industrial complex?
The individuals who would leave presidents and higher officials out of that particular knowledge base, as you say, out of the loop, I suppose your people say,
Yeah.
are not really part of that complex. They're a completely separate body at this point in your history.
Interesting. Can you
So many of your highest officials know nothing about, except maybe on a very cursory level, what some of the individuals know who are actually the ones monitoring these things.
And is there a reason for that? Is there a reason? Have they separated themselves from those leaders over time? I assume they have. Is it for military power, or is it because they don't?
Well, they have a multitude of their own reasons, so to speak. Some of them being the acquisition of power, some of it being the prevention of power in other people's hands, some of it being fear-based in terms of what it might do to the society to know these things, some of it religious-based, based on their assumption of what extraterrestrials may be. But for the most part, most of the withholding is, to some degree, based on some form of fear-based belief system.
Okay, very interesting. Well, I appreciate getting to speak with you today.
And you as well.
I hope you are well, and I'll speak to you hopefully sometime down the line. Take care of yourself.
We thank you and our unconditional love to you.
Much love to you as well.
Hello, Bashar. Thank you for the co-creation. This is Ishan from Australia. I have a question regarding to our memories. So my question is, why do we have memories and what does that serve to us? And I know the time is always now, but is that a side effect of having our so-called space and time in our dimension? Thank you. Bye.
Yes, it is. Because memories are created in the present, no matter what they represent about the so-called past, because the past is an illusion. Nevertheless, from a linear perspective, it gives you the opportunity to learn from something that you consider to be the past. It allows you to grow in a linear way. So you have created the concept of memory to create continuity for yourselves in the illusion of time and space, so that you can see a progression of change which allows you to discover something about yourself that is new.
Hello.
And to you, good day.
Thank you for having me, Bashar.
It is our passion and our pleasure.
Okay, so I feel like the final splits for 2020 are one where Trump wins and one where the other part wins.
There are always alternate realities with things that happen that don't happen in yours. Always.
Okay.
And there are different versions of all of them in different realities. It's not just two. There are many, many realities with different versions of both of those scenarios and other scenarios that have nothing to do with what you experienced, of course.
I want to know what are the chances that I will shift to the reality where Trump actually wins. What will improve my chances to shift to that reality? Because right now I would like to quit my job in another city, although I have another stable income at this time.
Your communication is breaking up, which is an indication that your vibration is breaking up and is not consistent within yourself. Remember that you can shift wherever you wish to as long as you are in a vibrational state that promotes the shift. Whether that be a negative state or a positive state is up to you. But the idea is you will shift according to whatever vibration you create within yourself based on your belief systems and whether or not those belief systems are fear-based or joy-based.
Okay, is my communication okay now?
At the moment, it is.
Okay, so before the age of 7, I was hybridized by the grace, and that involved some work at the root chakra.
Yes,
What is
yes.
happening is that in any apartment building, I cannot properly rest at night because there is a location where multiple people are living in the apartments around me. So,
So why don't you move?
well,
So why don't you move?
I move. If I move, I need to move somewhere in nature, basically.
So why don't you? What's stopping you?
Well, I need to have some comfort. I mean, it would be
What
expensive.
makes you think you won't?
I mean, I actually bought a car and to make it as a camper van.
You are breaking up again. It's important for you to understand that this is not just a technological glitch. It's a reflection of your own energy.
I know.
You're not coherent within yourself because you are creating too many details that you think you have to work to put together instead of allowing the flow of your life to lead you and guide you in an automatic way. You are imposing too many limiting belief systems on yourself about what you think you need in order to experience what it is that you prefer in life. You don't need that many beliefs about it. You don't need to do as much as you think you need to do. You need to allow yourself to know that if there is something impeding your ability to be where it is you prefer to be, that it's only your belief system that is impeding it. Your definition of what you think you need is too narrow, and you need to broaden it.
Okay then.
So, what is it you think you need at this moment in your belief system in order to go and move somewhere where you prefer in a way that is comfortable for you? What do you think at this point is lacking that prevents you from being able to do that?
The financial means to have the
Aha! So you're only focused on the idea that the only way you can achieve this is through the concept you call money?
Well, I will need to have the equipment to provide heat and warm.
And what makes you think there aren't other ways to get that?
Well, I would be alone in nature, basically.
So what?
So,
What makes you think there aren't other ways for you to get that?
well, that's the issue, basically, because actually it's a paradox. I feel like being.
All right, we understand. But here's what perhaps will help you understand what we are saying. There are many forms of support, many forms of abundance. Money on your planet may be one symbol, but it's only one symbol. Being given a gift is a symbol of abundance. Having something to trade with someone is a symbol of abundance to get what you need. Synchronicity is a symbol of abundance. Imagination is a symbol of abundance. Communication is a symbol of abundance because all these things can allow you to experience a flow of receiving the support you need when you need it, in perfect timing, in the form in which you need it, to be able to continue to act on your highest passion. You have to make room for all the forms of abundance to be equally capable of coming into your life. But if you focus only on one as being the only one that's more important, the only one that can get you where you need to be, you're actually closing the doors through all the other ways in which abundance can come to you in these different forms. In many cases, in many circumstances, in many situations, sometimes different forms of abundance have to work together in order to give you the 100% abundance that you need to move forward. So sometimes it might be that a small amount of money will come into your life, but if no more comes in that allows you to do what you need to do, that would be your first clue that some other form of abundance may need to come in to join it. And maybe another form of abundance will come in and join that. And then all together, those different forms, those different expressions of abundance and support will then give you what you need. So maybe in some circumstances, it will be a little bit of money, a little bit of somebody giving you something you need, a little bit of being able to trade with somebody for something that you need, or your imagination will open up and go, oh, there's a different way I can do this. And so by doing it a different way, I may not need what I think I need right now, or I'll get it along another path that I haven't imagined before. You have to be open to all these forms of abundance to truly be supported in your passion in life. And then you will see that as it flows, it will flow you exactly in the correct direction, and you'll wind up exactly where you need to be, when you need to be there. That supports you in the best possible way to allow you to continue to act on your excitement. But you can't have any insistence that it must look a certain way, because the real truth is you have no idea what the ideal outcome for you actually should look like. You just have to trust that the ideal outcome will unfold in the way that serves you best. Is this making some sense?
Yes,
Is this helping?
very much.
All right. So practice relaxing your insistence on focusing on only one definition of abundance and support, and you will start allowing yourself to perceive through synchronicity other forms of abundance magically coming in. And then you will see your path more clearly.
Okay, so you said you cannot shift to a vastly different reality.
I didn't say that. I simply said you cannot shift to one that's not relevant for you.
Okay, you said you cannot shift to a reality if you don't know you can shift to that reality or something like this.
In a sense, yes, you have to know that it's possible, but you also have to understand what's probable, what's relevant for the theme that you chose to explore. As, in a sense, this version of you, this version of you, this version of you, this version of you. The theme can span many different versions, but you have to understand that some things are simply not relevant for the theme that you chose to explore. Some things are. So sometimes you can experience what appears to be an amazingly large shift into a very different reality, and many times you will simply experience something that seems like a little bit of a difference. That's more common. I'm not saying you can't experience a greater shift, but again, you have to A, know that that's possible, and you have to also know that that's relevant for you.
I understand. My last question.
Yes.
Having the year 2012 as a reference point, what percentage of the souls on Earth have shifted their focus on this reality, and how many are focused in a different reality, like where the human is different?
All right. Well, again, you're asking kind of a segregational question because you're never on the same Earth. But we understand what you mean and what you're asking. From the idea of a focal point that you're calling 2012, now that you are arriving at the inverse 2021, you've inverted those last two numbers, you may find that if you want some kind of an average comparison, we perceive that many people have allowed themselves to shift somewhere around 12 to 15, maybe some as high as 20%.
Okay. Okay then.
Does that answer your question?
Yes. Thank
All
you
right.
very much.
We thank you. Our unconditional love and support to you. Good day.
Good day.